The deep space around the Kepler 442 system was quiet, like it had been for thousands of years. Nothing moved in the black void except tiny pieces of space dust that caught the light from distant stars. This was the edge of known space where most species feared to travel. But the Zephyrians were not most species. Commander Lisa Turner stood on the bridge of the Stellar Whisper, watching the stars through the large viewing screen. Her blue skin had the healthy glow that came from years of commanding deep space missions. The Zephyrians had ruled this part of the galaxy for 3,000 years, and Lisa was proud to be part of that legacy. Her ship was one of the fastest in the fleet, designed for finding new worlds and new species to bring into the Empire. "Commander, we have something on the sensors," called out Science Officer Kethver from his station. His voice carried the excitement that came with discovery. In his 200 years of service, he had found 17 new species for the Empire. Some had joined willingly. Others had needed more convincing. Lisa walked over to his station, her boots clicking on the metal floor. "What do you have for me, Keth?" The science officer's fingers moved quickly over his controls. "Unknown vessel, approximately 200 kilometers off our starboard side. It appears to be drifting, no engine signatures detected." He paused, checking his readings again. "Commander, this ship is large, much larger than our own." Lisa felt a familiar thrill run through her. A new species meant new territory for the Empire. It meant promotion opportunities and honor for her crew. "Can you determine if there are life signs aboard?" "Running scans now," Kethver replied. His equipment hummed softly as it worked. "Yes, Commander. I'm detecting multiple life forms, but they appear to be in some kind of suspended state. Possibly hibernation or medical preservation?" "Excellent," Lisa said, crossing her arms. "A helpless ship with sleeping occupants. This should be simple." She turned to her communications officer. "Nalsith, prepare a boarding party. We'll take the ship and wake up whoever is inside. They can surrender peacefully, or we can make the decision for them." But something about the readings bothered Kethver. He had scanned hundreds of ships over the years, and this one felt different. The energy signatures were strange, almost like the ship was pretending to be asleep while actually being wide awake. "Commander, I recommend we perform a deep scan first." "Something about this vessel seems unusual," Lisa nodded. The Zephyrians had become the dominant force in their sector by being careful as well as strong. "Do it. Full spectrum analysis. I want to know everything about this ship and its crew before we board." Far away on the human ship, automated systems detected the alien scan. The USS Defiant had been built with the latest Earth technology, including defensive measures that most species couldn't even imagine. The ship's artificial intelligence, based on the personality of Admiral Pete Johnson, quietly processed the new information. "Interesting," the AI said to itself in a voice that sounded like an old man who had seen too many battles. "Looks like we have visitors. Better not wake the crew just yet. Let's see what these aliens are made of first." The AI began running defensive protocols that had been tested against the most advanced species humanity had encountered. The Defiant might look like it was helpless, but it was actually one of the most dangerous ships in the human fleet. Every system on board had been designed with one purpose in mind: to protect humanity and expand their territory. Back on the Stellar Whisper, Kethver was getting readings that made no sense. "Commander, the ship's hull appears to be made of materials I don't recognize. The density readings are off the charts. It's like they built this thing to survive flying through a star." Lisa frowned. "What about weapons? Do you detect any?" "That's the strange part," Kethver said, his voice growing more confused. "I'm detecting what might be weapons, but the energy signatures are enormous, much larger than anything in our database. It's possible our equipment is malfunctioning." "Run a diagnostic on all systems," Lisa ordered. "I want to be sure our readings are accurate." The diagnostic came back clean. Their equipment was working perfectly, which meant the readings were real. The alien ship was built like a fortress and armed like a battle station. But if it was so powerful, why was it just drifting in space? "Maybe they're explorers like us," suggested Navigator Talani from her station. They could be scientists studying this system. Lisa wasn't convinced. In her experience, ships that were built for science didn't need armor thick enough to stop planet-killer weapons. Continue the scan. I want to know about the crew. Kethver adjusted his controls, focusing the scan on the life forms inside the ship. What he found made his blood run cold. Commander, you need to see this. The biological readings are unlike anything I've ever encountered. Lisa looked at the data streaming across Kethver's screen. The alien crew members were roughly the same size as Zephyrians, but their bone density was 3 times higher. Their muscle tissue was denser than that of species from high-gravity worlds. Most disturbing of all, their brain activity patterns showed processing speeds that seemed impossible. These readings can't be right, Lisa said, but her voice carried less certainty than before. No species could have evolved with these characteristics. Commander, I'm also detecting strange readings from their sleeping chambers, Kethver added. The life support systems appear to be far more advanced than ours, and the medical equipment suggests they have capabilities we can't match. Lisa started to feel uncomfortable. The Zephyrians had never encountered a species that was more advanced than they were. Their empire had been built on the assumption that they were the most evolved beings in the galaxy. But these readings suggested otherwise. What about their technology? She asked. Can you scan their computer systems? I'm trying, but their security is impressive, Kethver replied. It's like they expected someone to try to scan them. The firewalls are adapting to my attempts in real time. On the Defiant, the AI watched the alien scanning attempts with amusement. Cute, Admiral Johnson's voice said to the empty bridge. They're trying to crack our systems with technology that's about 50 years behind ours. Should I let them in and give them a little scare, or should I keep them guessing? The AI decided to let the aliens think they were making progress. It would be interesting to see how they reacted to what they found. Slowly, carefully, it began to lower some of its defenses, allowing the Zephyrian scan to penetrate deeper into the ship's systems. Commander, I'm getting through their security, Kethver announced, his excitement returning. I should be able to access their database within the next few minutes. Lisa felt a mix of anticipation and growing unease. Something about this situation felt wrong, but she couldn't identify what it was. The alien ship was clearly advanced, but it was also clearly helpless. Her crew had the advantage of being awake and armed while the aliens slept. Prepare the boarding party anyway, she decided. Once we know what we're dealing with, we'll take the ship. The Empire will want to study their technology. As the stellar Whisper continued its scan, neither Lisa nor her crew realized they were about to discover something that would change their understanding of the galaxy forever. The sleeping humans aboard the Defiant represented something the Zephyrians had never encountered before. A species that had turned war into an art form and peace into a weapon. The first phase of contact was almost complete, and soon the Zephyrians would learn why the human ship had been drifting alone in the dark. It wasn't because they were lost or helpless. It was because they were exactly where they wanted to be, doing exactly what they had planned to do. The hunt was about to begin. But the Zephyrians had no idea they were the prey. The deep scan had been running for 20 minutes when Kethver first noticed something was wrong. His equipment was giving him readings that seemed impossible. He checked the calibration 3 times, ran diagnostics on every sensor, and even asked his assistant to verify the data. Everything checked out perfectly, which made the results even more terrifying. "Commander Turner," Kethver called out, his voice carrying a note of concern that made everyone on the bridge look up. "I think you need to see this immediately." Lisa walked over to the science station, expecting to see the usual data about a new species. Instead, she found herself staring at numbers that made no sense. The alien ship's hull composition showed materials that shouldn't exist according to Zephyrian physics. The readings indicated metal alloys that were somehow both lighter than air and stronger than neutron star matter. "This has to be a mistake," Lisa said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Run the scan again?" "I've run it 4 times, Commander," Kethver replied. "The results are consistent. This ship is built from materials we don't understand, using technology we can't identify, but that's not the worst part. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean? Kethver switched his display to show the biological scans of the sleeping crew members. Look at these readings, Commander. These beings are not like anything we've encountered before. The data showed humanoid figures lying in what appeared to be medical pods. At first glance, they looked similar to Zephyrians, but the detailed scans revealed differences that were deeply unsettling. Their bone structure was dense enough to stop projectile weapons. Their muscle tissue showed fiber arrangements that suggested strength levels comparable to heavy construction equipment. Their cardiovascular systems are remarkable, Kethver continued, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. Blood oxygen efficiency is nearly perfect. Brain tissue shows neural pathway density that's off our measurement scales. Commander, these beings appear to be biological weapons designed to look like a normal species. Lisa stared at the readings, trying to process what she was seeing. What about their technology? Have you been able to access their computer systems? That's where it gets interesting, Kethver said, switching to another display. I managed to break through their outer security layers, but what I found doesn't make sense. Their computers aren't just advanced, they're thinking. The system is actively adapting to my scanning attempts, learning from each probe I send. On the bridge of the Defiant, Admiral Johnson's AI personality was indeed learning. Every scan from the alien ship provided valuable intelligence about Zephyrian technology and capabilities. The AI was building a complete profile of the alien vessel, its weapons, its crew, and its probable intentions. Fascinating, the AI said to itself. These aliens have decent technology for a species that's probably never faced real opposition. Their scanning equipment is about 50 years behind our current standards, but it's well designed for what they need. Too bad they picked the wrong ship to investigate. The AI began preparing defensive measures while maintaining the appearance of a helpless vessel. It was a delicate balance, allowing the aliens to think they were succeeding while actually controlling every aspect of the encounter. Back on the Stellar Whisper, Medical Officer Zalaneth had been quietly reviewing the biological data. What she found made her stomach turn. Commander, I need to report something disturbing about these alien life forms. Lisa turned to face her medical officer. What is it, Zalaneth? Their physiology suggests they evolved in an extremely hostile environment. Zalaneth explained. Everything about their biology indicates a species that has survived by being better at violence than anything else in their ecosystem. Their reflexes, their muscle density, their brain structure, it all points to apex predators. But they're just sleeping, Lisa pointed out. They can't be that dangerous if they're unconscious. Zalaneth shook her head. Commander, even in their sleep state, their bodies are maintaining combat readiness. Their adrenal systems are active, their muscles are partially tensed, and their brain activity suggests they're processing tactical information even while unconscious. These beings don't just fight when they have to, they're always ready to fight. The implications of this discovery were staggering. The Zephyrian Empire had built its power on the assumption that they were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. They had conquered dozens of worlds and subjugated hundreds of species because they were better fighters than anyone else. But these readings suggested they had found something that made them look like peaceful farmers. What about their weapons? Lisa asked. Though she was beginning to fear the answer, Kethver had been analyzing the ship's armament while his colleagues studied the crew. What he found defied all military logic. Commander, this ship appears to be armed with weapons that could destroy our entire fleet. The energy signatures are enormous, and that's just from the systems I can identify. There are weapon types here that I can't even categorize. How many weapons are we talking about? Lisa asked. All of them, Kethver replied. Commander, this entire ship is a weapon. The engines can be converted to directed energy weapons. The life support systems can apparently be used to create chemical weapons. Even their communication arrays can be turned into electromagnetic pulse devices. Every system on this ship has been designed to kill. Lisa felt dizzy. The Zephyrian Empire had rules about ship construction that had been followed for thousands of years. Civilian ships were for transportation and trade. Military ships were for war. But this alien vessel seemed to ignore such distinctions entirely. It was as if the beings who built it couldn't imagine any purpose for technology other than warfare. There's something else, Kethver added reluctantly. I've been analyzing their navigation data. This ship has been to dozens of star systems, many of which show signs of recent conflict. I think these beings are conquerors, Commander. And based on the data I'm seeing, they're very good at it. The bridge of the stellar whisper fell silent as the implications sank in. The Zephyrian Empire had built its power through military might and superior technology. They had never encountered a species that could match them in either area. But the sleeping aliens seemed to surpass them in both. Have you been able to access their historical records? Lisa asked. Some of them, Kethver replied. What I've found is disturbing. These beings appear to have a long history of warfare, not just against other species, but against each other. Their homeworld shows evidence of conflicts that would have destroyed most civilizations, but somehow made them stronger. Lisa studied the data, trying to find some weakness or vulnerability they could exploit. Instead, she found herself looking at a species that seemed to have turned survival into an art form. Their technology was advanced, their biology was optimized for combat, and their history was one long lesson in how to win wars. Commander, Communications Officer Nalsith called out from her station. I'm detecting increased activity from the alien ship. Some of their systems are coming online. Lisa felt panic rising in her chest. Are they waking up? Not yet, Nalsith replied. But their ship's computer appears to be becoming more active. It's like it's analyzing our scans and preparing responses. On the Defiant, the AI had indeed begun more active preparations. It had learned everything it needed to know about the Zephyrian vessel and its capabilities. Now it was time to decide how to proceed. The sleeping human crew didn't need to be awakened for this encounter. The AI was more than capable of handling the situation alone. Let's give them something to really worry about, Admiral Johnson's voice said with what sounded like amusement. Time to show them what they're really dealing with. The AI began bringing more systems online, not enough to appear threatening, but enough to demonstrate the ship's true capabilities. It was a calculated revelation, designed to make the aliens understand their situation without forcing them into desperate action. On the stellar whisper, every sensor alarm began sounding at once. The alien ship was revealing itself to be far more than it had appeared, and with each passing moment, the Zephyrians realized they had made a terrible mistake. The alarms on the stellar whisper were getting louder, but Commander Lisa Turner couldn't hear them over the sound of her own heartbeat. The alien ship was coming alive, system by system, like a sleeping giant opening its eyes. Every new reading made the situation worse. Commander, their power output just increased by 300%, Kethver reported, his voice tight with fear. They're bringing weapons online, but slowly, like they're being careful not to scare us? Lisa almost laughed at the absurdity of that statement. The idea that the aliens were worried about scaring them was terrifying in itself. It meant they were confident enough to be polite about threatening the Zephyrian ship. Have you been able to access more of their database? Lisa asked, hoping to find some weakness or vulnerability they could use. Yes, Commander, but you're not going to like what I found, Kethver replied. His fingers moved across his controls, bringing up new data on the main screen. I've accessed their historical records, and what I've learned about these beings is beyond anything we've encountered. The screen filled with images and data that made everyone on the bridge step back. The alien species called themselves humans, and their history was written in blood and fire. Wars that had lasted for centuries. Conflicts that had destroyed entire continents. Battles that had been fought with weapons that could crack planets. Look at this, Kethver said, highlighting a section of the data. They call this period the Final Continental War. It lasted 47 years and involved the entire population of their homeworld. The casualty numbers are staggering, but what's worse is that they consider this war to be a minor conflict in their history. Lisa stared at the images of massive battles, destroyed cities, and weapons that made Zephyrian military technology look like children's toys. How did they survive this? That's the terrifying part, Kethver continued. They didn't just survive it, they thrived. Every war made them stronger, more advanced, more dangerous. They turned conflict into a tool for evolution. The database contained detailed records of human military tactics, and each entry was more disturbing than the last. Humans didn't just fight wars, they studied them. They analyzed every battle, learned from every defeat, and turned every victory into a lesson for future conflicts. Commander, look at this section about their technology development, Kethver said, switching to another part of the database. Everything they've invented has military applications. Their space travel technology was developed to move armies between worlds. Their medical advances were created to keep soldiers fighting longer. Even their entertainment systems were designed to train warriors. Lisa read through the data, her horror growing with each page. The humans had weaponized everything, including peace itself. Their diplomatic missions were intelligence-gathering operations. Their trade agreements were ways to study potential enemies. Their cultural exchanges were methods of psychological warfare. What about their current military capabilities? Lisa asked. Kethver's face went pale. Commander, this ship we're scanning isn't even a military vessel. According to their records, it's classified as a reconnaissance ship. Their actual warships are called names like World Breaker and Planet Killer, and the specifications are classified beyond my ability to access. The implications hit Lisa like a physical blow. If this ship, with its impossible armor and devastating weapons, was just a scout vessel, then the human military must be powerful beyond comprehension. The Zephyrian Empire's greatest battleships would probably register as small patrol craft in human military doctrine. There's more, Kethver continued, his voice getting quieter. I've found records of their encounters with other species. 47 different alien civilizations have made contact with humans over the past 2 centuries. Want to know how many of those civilizations still exist as independent entities? Lisa didn't want to know, but she had to ask, how many? 3. The rest either joined the human alliance voluntarily, were conquered, or were completely destroyed. The humans call it the Integration Protocol. Species that can adapt to human standards are allowed to survive. Those that can't are removed. The bridge fell silent as everyone processed this information. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered dozens of worlds, but they had always left the conquered species alive to serve as workers and soldiers. The humans apparently had no such limitations. Commander, Medical Officer Zalaneth called out from her station. I've been analyzing the biological data further, and I've discovered something that explains their military success. Lisa turned to face her medical officer, though she dreaded what she might hear. What is it? These humans don't just fight better than other species, Zalaneth explained. They're psychologically adapted for warfare. Their brains produce chemicals during combat that enhance their performance instead of impairing it. Fear makes them think faster. Pain makes them stronger. Stress makes them more creative. That's impossible, Lisa said, but she knew it wasn't. The scans didn't lie, and the human database confirmed everything. It gets worse, Zalaneth continued. Their social structure is based on conflict. They compete with each other constantly. Not just in warfare, but in everything. Their sports are training for combat. Their games are strategy exercises. Their children play with toys that teach them how to fight. Lisa looked at the sleeping humans on her screen. Even unconscious, they looked dangerous. Their bodies were maintained in perfect physical condition. Their equipment was positioned for easy access, and their sleeping arrangements suggested they could wake up and be ready for battle within seconds. Have you learned anything about their intentions? Lisa asked. Why are they here? That's the most disturbing part, Kethver replied. According to their navigation logs, they're not here by accident. This system is on their expansion route. They're scouting it for potential colonization or conquest. The pieces fell into place with horrible clarity. The human ship wasn't drifting helplessly in space. It was exactly where it wanted to be, doing exactly what it was supposed to do. The humans were studying the Kepler 442 system, evaluating it for future human operations. "Commander," Communications Officer Nausith called out urgently. "The alien ship is hailing us." Lisa felt her blood turn to ice. "They're awake?" "No, Commander. The signal is coming from their ship's computer. It's an artificial intelligence, and it's requesting communication." On the Defiant, Admiral Johnson's AI had decided it was time to make contact. The Zephyrian scans had provided excellent intelligence about their technology and capabilities. Now it was time to begin the next phase of the encounter. "Good morning, Zephyrian vessel," the AI transmitted in perfect Zephyrian language. "I am the artificial intelligence aboard the human reconnaissance ship Defiant. I have been monitoring your scans of our vessel and crew. I thought it would be polite to introduce myself before proceeding." Lisa's hands shook as she responded. "This is Commander Lisa Turner of the Stellar Whisper. We meant no offense by our scans. We were simply investigating an unknown vessel." "Of course," the AI replied, its tone friendly but somehow menacing. "Curiosity is natural. I hope you found our specifications interesting. I should mention that everything you've discovered about our ship and crew is accurate. We are indeed as dangerous as your scans suggest. We have no hostile intentions," Lisa said quickly. "We're explorers like yourselves." "I'm sure you are," the AI responded. "However, I should inform you that your scans have been quite thorough. You now know things about human capabilities that are classified at the highest levels. This creates a problem for both of us." Lisa felt panic rising in her chest. "What kind of problem?" "The kind that usually requires a permanent solution," the AI replied. "But I'm feeling generous today. I'm going to give you a choice. You can either join the Human Alliance as a junior partner, or you can return to your empire with a message. The choice is yours. What message?" Lisa asked, though she suspected she already knew. "That humanity has arrived in this sector and we're not going away. Your empire can either negotiate with us as equals, or we can demonstrate Y44. Other species chose to join us rather than resist." The communication ended, leaving the bridge of the Stellar Whisper in stunned silence. The humans had just delivered an ultimatum to the entire Zephyrian Empire, and they had done it without even waking up. The silence on the bridge of the Stellar Whisper stretched for what felt like hours. Commander Lisa Turner stared at the communication panel, trying to process what had just happened. The human artificial intelligence had delivered an ultimatum to the entire Zephyrian Empire without even bothering to wake up its crew. "Commander," Kethver whispered, his voice barely audible, "are we going to respond?" Lisa didn't know what to say. In 3,000 years of Zephyrian expansion, no species had ever spoken to them like that. The humans had just casually informed them that 44 other civilizations had either joined or been destroyed, and they had done it like they were discussing the weather. "Open a channel," Lisa finally said. "We need to know more about what they want." The communication system crackled to life, and the human AI's voice filled the bridge. It sounded almost friendly, which somehow made it more terrifying. "Hello again, Commander Turner. Have you had time to consider my offer?" "We need more information," Lisa replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "What exactly does joining the Human Alliance mean?" "An excellent question," the AI responded. "Alliance membership provides many benefits. Protection from hostile species, access to human technology, and participation in our expansion programs. Of course, there are also obligations." "What kind of obligations?" Lisa asked, though she suspected she wouldn't like the answer. "Standard terms," the AI replied. "Military cooperation when requested, technology sharing, and adherence to human standards of conduct. Most species find the arrangement quite favorable once they understand the alternatives." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "And if we refuse?" "Then you return to your empire with a message?" the AI said. "Humanity is expanding into this sector. Your empire can either negotiate with us, or we can demonstrate why negotiation is preferable to the alternative." On the human ship, the first members of the crew were beginning to stir. The AI had decided it was time to wake them up, not because the situation required it, but because the crew would be interested in meeting their new neighbors, Captain Jake. Martinez opened his eyes in his cryopod, immediately alert despite having been asleep for months. The AI briefed him on the situation while medical systems checked his vital signs and prepared him for duty. "Interesting," Martinez said as he sat up in his pod. "How long have they been scanning us?" 47 minutes, the AI replied. "They've accessed approximately 30% of our database. Enough to understand what they're dealing with, but not enough to cause security concerns," Martinez nodded. Humans had been making first contact with new species for over 2 centuries. They had developed very specific protocols for these encounters, and everything was going according to plan. "Wake up the senior staff," Martinez ordered. "Let's make a proper introduction." Across the ship, other crew members were emerging from their cryopods. Chief Security Officer Karen White was already checking her weapons, not because she expected trouble, but because it was standard procedure. Communications Officer Steve Hayes was reviewing the alien language patterns that the AI had decoded. Medical Officer Helen Brooks was preparing her sickbay for potential casualties, though she doubted there would be any. "Captain," Steve Hayes called out as Martinez entered the bridge. "I've been listening to the communication with the alien ship. They seem genuinely surprised by our capabilities." Martinez took his position in the captain's chair, a piece of furniture that had been designed to serve as both a command station and a tactical control center. "What's your assessment of their species?" "Typical mid-level civilization," Hayes replied. "Good technology, strong military tradition, but they've never faced real opposition. They've been the biggest fish in their pond for so long that they've forgotten other ponds exist." "Any signs of aggression?" Martinez asked. "None," Hayes replied. "Fear, confusion, and growing panic, but no hostile intentions. They're smart enough to recognize when they're outmatched." Martinez nodded. Humans preferred to resolve first-contact situations peacefully when possible. It was more efficient than conquest, and it provided better long-term results. But they were also prepared for a species that chose the harder path. "Open a channel to the alien ship," Martinez ordered. "Let's have a proper conversation." On the Stellar Whisper, the communication panel came alive again. This time, the voice was different. Human, but not artificial. It carried the confidence of someone who was used to being in charge. "Commander Turner, this is Captain Jake Martinez of the human ship Defiant. I understand you've been getting acquainted with my ship and crew. I hope you found the experience educational." Lisa felt her heart racing. The human captain sounded completely relaxed, like he was greeting an old friend instead of a potential enemy. "Captain Martinez, we meant no offense by our scans. We was simply investigating an unknown vessel." "Of course," Martinez replied. "Curiosity is natural. I would have done the same thing in your position. The question now is what we do next. What do you suggest?" Lisa asked. "That depends on what you learn from your scans," Martinez said. "You've had access to our database for almost an hour. You know who we are and what we're capable of. The question is whether you understand what that means." Lisa looked around her bridge at her terrified crew. They all understood exactly what it meant. The humans were not just another species to be conquered or avoided. They were a force of nature. A species that had turned warfare into an art form and expansion into a science. "We understand," Lisa said quietly. "Good," Martinez replied. "Then you understand that we're not here to threaten you. We're here to offer you a choice. Your empire can either work with us or it can be replaced by something more cooperative." "You're talking about conquering the entire Zephyrian Empire," Lisa said. "I'm talking about bringing order to this sector," Martinez corrected. "The Zephyrian Empire has done good work here, but it's time for new management. We can do this the easy way or the hard way." "The choice is yours." Lisa felt dizzy. The human captain was casually discussing the overthrow of a civilization that had ruled this part of the galaxy for 3,000 years. He was talking about it like it was a business decision. "How many ships do you have?" Lisa asked. "Enough," Martinez replied. But numbers aren't really the issue here. We don't need to destroy your empire, Commander. We just need to demonstrate that we can. Most species find that demonstration quite convincing. What happens to us if we agree to join your alliance? Lisa asked. You continue to exist, Martinez said. You govern your worlds according to human standards. You contribute to our military when requested. You share your technology and benefit from ours. It's not a bad arrangement. And if we refuse, then we find someone else to govern your worlds. Martinez replied. There are always species willing to take over when current management fails to adapt. Lisa realized that the humans had thought this through completely. They weren't just making threats. They had a plan, and the Zephyrian Empire was just one part of it. Captain, Medical Officer Zalaneth called out quietly. I'm detecting more life signs aboard the human ship. Their crew is waking up. Martinez's voice came through the communication system again. Commander Turner, I'm going to give you some time to think about this. My crew is waking up, and they'll want to stretch their legs. We've been in space for a long time, and we're looking forward to seeing what this system has to offer. The implication was clear. The humans were planning to explore the Kepler 442 system, whether the Zephyrians agreed or not. They were being polite about it, but they weren't asking for permission. How long do we have to decide? Lisa asked. Take all the time you need, Martinez replied. But understand that delay is also a decision. We're not going to wait indefinitely for your empire to make up its mind. The communication ended, leaving the Zephyrian crew to contemplate their impossible situation. They had come looking for a new species to conquer, and instead they had found conquerors who made their own empire. Looked like children playing with toys. The worst part was that the humans seemed genuinely friendly about the whole thing. They were offering partnership instead of slavery, cooperation instead of destruction. But they were also making it clear that these were the only options available. Lisa looked at her crew and realized that everything they had believed about. Their place in the galaxy had just been destroyed. The Zephyrian Empire was not the dominant force they had thought it was. It was just another species waiting to be integrated into something much larger and more powerful. The humans had won the encounter without firing a single shot. The crew of the Stellar Whisper sat in stunned silence for nearly an hour after Captain Martinez ended their conversation. Commander Lisa Turner stared at the alien ship on her viewing screen, watching as it slowly came to full power. Systems that had been dormant were now active, and the energy readings were beyond anything her instruments could properly measure. Commander, Navigator Telani said quietly, we need to make a decision. Do we return to the Empire with this information, or do we try to negotiate directly? Lisa had been thinking about the same question. The Zephyrian Empire had protocols for first contact situations, but none of them covered what to do when you discovered a species that could destroy your entire civilization without breaking a sweat. What are our options? Lisa asked her senior staff. We could try to fight, Security Chief Veltar suggested, though his voice carried no conviction. Our weapons are fully charged, and we have the element of surprise. Medical Officer Zalaneth laughed bitterly. Did you see the same scans? I did. Their ship could probably survive a direct hit from our planet-killer weapons. And that's assuming they don't have shields we can't even detect. We could run, Telani offered. Get back to Empire space and warn the High Council. And tell them. What? Kethver asked. That we found a species that makes us look like primitive barbarians? That they're planning to take over our territory and there's nothing we can do to stop them? Lisa considered their options. None of them were good. Fighting would be suicide, running would only delay the inevitable. And trying to negotiate seemed pointless when the humans had already made their position clear. Captain Martinez is hailing us again, Communications Officer Nalsith announced. Put him through, Lisa said. Straightening in her chair, the human captain's voice filled the bridge, still carrying that same relaxed confidence that was somehow more intimidating than any threat. Commander Turner, I hope you've had time to think about our conversation. I have a proposal that might interest you. I'm listening, Lisa replied. My crew and I are going to explore this system, Martinez said. We're particularly interested in the third planet. Our scans show it has excellent potential for colonization. Would you like to join us? It might help you understand what you're dealing with. Lisa felt her blood run cold. The third planet in. The Kepler 442 system was a Zephyrian colony world, home to over 50 million citizens. The humans were casually announcing their intention to survey it for takeover. That's a Zephyrian world, Lisa said. It has been for over 200 years. No, Martinez replied. That's what makes it interesting. We can see how well your people have developed it, and you can see how we plan to improve it. Think of it as a demonstration. The implications were terrifying. The humans weren't just planning to take over the system. They were going to show the Zephyrians exactly how they would do it, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop them. Captain, Lisa said carefully, surely we can discuss this diplomatically. There's no need for any demonstrations. Of course there is, Martinez replied. Your empire needs to understand what it's dealing with. Words are just words, Commander. Actions are what matter. On the Defiant, the full crew was now awake and going about their duties with practiced efficiency. Chief Security Officer Karen White was reviewing tactical data about the Zephyrian colony world. Communications Officer Steve Hayes was monitoring all transmissions from the system. Medical Officer Helen Brooks was preparing for the possibility of treating alien civilians who might be injured during the demonstration. Captain, Hayes reported, I'm detecting increased communication traffic from the colony world. They've noticed our presence and are requesting instructions from the Zephyrian ship. Martinez nodded. Patch me through to their planetary governor. It's time to make a proper introduction. The communication system connected to the surface of the colony world, and a nervous Zephyrian voice came through. This is Governor Keltarn of the Kepler 442 colony. Who are you, and what are your intentions? Governor Keltarn, this is Captain Martinez of the human exploration vessel Defiant. We're here to evaluate your world for potential inclusion in human territory. We'll be conducting surveys over the next few hours. This is Zephyrian territory, the governor replied, his voice rising. You have no authority here. Actually, we do, Martinez said calmly. We're the ones with the bigger ships and better weapons. That's all the authority we need. Lisa listened to the exchange with growing horror. The human captain was treating the conquest of an entire world like a routine survey mission. He wasn't even trying to be diplomatic about it. Captain Martinez, Lisa interrupted. Please, there are 50 million people on that world. Surely, we can find a peaceful solution. We're not going to hurt anyone, Commander, Martinez replied. We're just going to show them what their future looks like under human management. Your people can stay and watch, or they can leave, their choice. The Defiant began moving toward the colony world, its massive bulk casting shadows on the stellar whisper as it passed. Lisa realized that her ship could probably fit inside the human vessel's cargo bay. The size difference was just another reminder of how outmatched they were. All weapons are powered but not aimed, Captain Martinez announced. Landing parties are prepared for peaceful contact. Colony infrastructure will be evaluated for human standards. Any resistance will be noted but not actively suppressed unless it becomes dangerous. Lisa understood what was happening. The humans were conducting a practice invasion. They were showing exactly how they would take over a Zephyrian world, step by step, without actually firing a shot. It was a demonstration of power that was more effective than any weapon. Commander, Kethver whispered, should we warn the colony to evacuate? With what ships? Lisa replied. There are 50 million people down there. Even if they wanted to leave, there's no way to move them all. The truth was that the colony world was trapped. The humans could take it whenever they wanted, and everyone knew it. The only question was whether the Zephyrians would cooperate or force the humans to use more direct methods. Captain Martinez, Lisa said, what exactly do you want from us? Simple, Martinez replied. I want you to watch. I want you to see how this works. Then I want you to go back to your empire and explain what you've seen. Your leaders need to understand that cooperation is not just preferable, it's inevitable. Hours passed as the human ship conducted its surveys. They scanned every city, every military installation, every resource deposit on the planet. They identified weaknesses in the colony's defenses, calculated the value of its resources, and planned improvements to its infrastructure. The most disturbing part was how professional they were about it. The humans weren't acting like conquerors or invaders. They were acting like managers taking over a new business. They spoke about the colony's population like employees who would need to be retrained. They discussed the planet's resources like assets to be optimized. Survey complete, Martinez announced as the Defiant moved away from the colony world. Preliminary evaluation shows good potential for human development. Current population can be integrated with minimal adjustment. Resource extraction can be increased by approximately 300% with proper management. Lisa felt sick. The humans had just calmly planned the takeover of her people's world, and they had done it like they were discussing a construction project. Commander Turner, Martinez continued, you've seen what we're capable of. You understand what we're offering. It's time to make your choice. Lisa looked around her bridge at her terrified crew. They all knew what had to be done. The Zephyrian Empire could either accept human partnership, or it could be replaced by something more cooperative. We'll return to Empire space, Lisa said quietly. We'll deliver your message. Excellent, Martinez replied. Please make sure your leaders understand that this offer won't remain open indefinitely. We have a schedule to keep, and there are other systems that need our attention. The Stellar Whisper began its journey back to Zephyrian space, carrying news that would shake the foundations of their civilization. The crew knew they were returning with the most important intelligence in their empire's history, and the most terrifying. As they departed, Lisa took one last look at the human ship. It was already moving toward the next system on its route, continuing its mission of expansion and integration. The humans hadn't even considered the encounter worth remembering. To them, it was just another day at work. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same.